Hey, welcome to the Good Fight Collective podcast. So excited you're with us today. My name's Jason. This is my friend George. We are part of the Good Fight Collective, and we are so excited about having this opportunity to unpack some content we hope will be helpful and make you stronger together. Today's podcast is one that's a topic, let's be honest, as guys, we don't really love talking about all the time, but it's a topic we should talk about because as we think about trying to fight the good fight of faith and what does it look like to fight the good fight together, there's a tool you need in your toolbox to be able to do this well. And I love that we're talking about this because if anyone has played this part for me, it's God's gift to you. It's been you, and you've had to be on the other side of this a lot. But we're going to talk about listening today, about the idea of listening as a two-way sport, of active listening and being a part of listening. And I think it's just so important because most of us, we listen in such a way where I'm waiting for you to shut up so I can tell you what I'm thinking and tell you my story that's funnier than your story or has more descriptions or I can name drop or whatever that is. And many of us spend our time listening, actually not listening. We spend our time thinking and we're not listening to them, we're listening at them so that we can respond immediately and not actually pay attention to what they're saying. And I think that's the way a lot of guys operate, right?
Yeah, it seems to be sometimes. And as we're trying to develop an authentic community, and let's keep that overarching in mind.
Yeah,
we're trying to develop an authentic community, a group of guys that we can sit around with and we can share something with, something that's deep, something that's personal. We want to know they're listening. They're not just listening to respond, but they're listening to understand. And I'm going to say that again. They're not just listening to respond. They're listening to understand. And how do we know that's happening? Well, hopefully they ask us a follow-up question. They listen intently and they ask us a follow-up question. Or maybe they even said, hey, tell us some more about that. They show interest and they don't just, as you said there so well, hey, well, let me tell you my story. Okay? If you're responding with your story to someone else's story, you've just told them they're not important. They're not interesting. You don't really care. And to build that authentic community, you need to let your brothers know you're there for them.
And that, gosh, it plays out so many different ways. I have been gifted with too much empathy. One of my very good friends who might be sitting at this table might not be accused of being gifted with a lot of empathy at times. And I think it's been challenging over the years in a good way. Like I can tell when we've not battled, but when we've had stuff to share where we've almost had to like back down and go, hey, no, you share. You tell me what you're thinking or what you're going through. Or I had something I was going through and then you brought something to the table and I'm like, I just need to push that to the side because of what's going on. And I think we've had this cool thing over the years where we've kind of learned how to listen to each other even though we're not wired the same way. And that's kind of been an interesting journey to be on. But I think the thing to me that's so powerful about listening is that when you are known, you're free. Like when I know I can tell George, here's what I'm struggling with, or here's the frustrating thing, or here's the thing I'm trying to process. And although he's going to love me and judge me as a brother because he has that right as a brother in Christ, and I've invited him into my life in that capacity, I know that he wants the best for me, and I know he wants God's best for me. And that gives you freedom, right? When you know that you're known and you know that people are actually listening to you and not at you, it gives you freedom in your heart. How does that play out for you?
Absolutely. It plays out in my men's group, but I'm going to tell you practically, it plays out in the work world as well. As you know, and I was an administrator at private Christian schools, and a parent would come in because their child might have done something that might have broke the rules, and the parent comes in and in 30 seconds, I could tell the parent, here's what your kid did wrong. Here's what we're going to do. And that's it. Thank you. Get out of my office. I don't have time. But I found out if I kind of share a little bit of, hey, here it is. What do you think? The parents would start talking. And then I would add in a little bit here and there, ask some questions, let them know that I knew their kid and I cared about them. And 30 minutes, 45 minutes may go by. And the parent would usually go, you do whatever to my kid you think you need to do, and they would be so incredibly supportive just because I listened. And I remember back in the day when we had legal pads, piece of paper that you wrote on, I'd put a big old L up in the top of my legal pad because I would be taking notes of what the parents were saying. And it was for me to look at them and listen to them. So I think it's out in the business world. You can help yourself in a lot of ways if you're the boss, if you're an employee, if you're just a peer with someone, to look at them, to listen to them, to ask follow-up questions, to really inquire, and then try to make something to follow back up a day or two later. Hey, you told me about this. How'd that happen? What went on? What happened? And we do that in our men's groups quite often. We'll go around and we'll share something. Now you pull out your phone and you write it down on your phone. And then when you meet the next week or 2 weeks later, you go, hey, Jim Bob, hey Joe, I don't know what names I can use here. I want to protect the innocent. But you ask them specifically about that. And I know the men in my group, they light up. It's like, wow, you actually heard me. You saw me. You cared. Whether you shoot a text to them. Yeah. We recently had a guy in our group who lost his sister unexpectedly. And, just send him a couple texts along. Man, just love you, thinking about you. Just letting him know we heard him. Yeah, he's seen, and he's an important part of our community.
For sure. And I think I'm with you. I used to literally keep a 3x5 card in my pocket and a pen so I could write down if someone says something. Now, thank the Lord, I have the phone and I can just write down. But I have in my notes app, I literally have a note to do that. And I know for me, I try to think about conversations I've had with folks and to follow up. Hey, praying for that thing, or hey, how's that going? And just that moment of saying, I heard you, I care about you, I'm with you. Because I think when you do that, all of a sudden, hey, you know me, you're responding to something I said, all of a sudden the things I say are valuable and they're important. When I did student ministry consulting for a long time, and I got to come alongside churches and help them think about how they do their small groups, one of the main things we always talked about with small group leaders was, hey, don't ask yes or no questions. Mm-hmm. Because you know what answer you're going to get when you ask a yes or no question?
Yes or no, and that's it.
Correct. And so ask questions that give you answers and try to think about, but then you have to listen. I had a small group leader once who is unbelievable. He's an incredible dude. And he was such a great leader for this group of young men. And I went to his group one week, and he literally would do this. He would ask a question. He'd be like, hey, so what do you guys think of the talk? Well, what I thought of the talk was, and he would go into this unbelievably phenomenal theological, great, and he just would be awesome with his stuff. He would basically reteach the sermon. But what I noticed is his guys never talked. And his guys never said a word. Because he literally would ask a question and not even take a beat before having an answer, because we went to coffee that week, and partially he just had stuff to share, which was really good. And I said, hey, man, when you ask a question, would you take a deep breath and count to 15 before you say a word? And he was like...
So be okay with some silence.
Yes. Well, the first week, his guys didn't know what to do. He literally he'd ask a question, hey, what do you guys think? And they all just were staring at him because they weren't used to having the space to talk. And
they were trained just to sit there. They didn't have to do anything.
100%. I don't have to talk in small group. And if you give teenage guys a reason not to talk, they'll take advantage of it. And so what was fun is over time, though, that group really developed in such a really cool way. And he got passionate about trying to create space and giving his guys their voice. And I think it took active listening and giving space for that. And I know for so many of us, we want to be heard. We have things to offer, and we want people to hear us. And I think some of us, it's is anyone actually listening? Is there anyone out there? And as we talk about fighting the good fight with men's groups, and another tension with this too, with groups, is you're going to have different people in your groups. You're going to have the talker who's going to show up, and they're going to take over and have 100 stories from the week. And they're going to have, oh, did I tell you? And then you have the guy that's not said a word all night, and you ask him a question and he just drops gold. and he's just an internal processor. He doesn't have to talk out loud. And so sometimes as a leader, you've got to navigate getting all the guys in your group involved, because some of them naturally are great listeners, but they're not great communicators. And some of them are great communicators, but they're not great listeners. And that's a tension to manage, right?
Absolutely. And so that's a little bit of a nugget for the leader. Okay. And I love the piece there to drop the question, be okay with some silence.
Yeah.
And don't jump in. And every time somebody does say something, you don't have to jump back in over it. And a great thing there, and we've got a guy in our group that drops the gold, but I have to call his name.
Yes.
Hey, I see you over there. What are you thinking? So leaders, sometimes you have to actually call their name. You have to call them out, and it's okay. And if they go, well, I really wasn't thinking anything, said, okay, that's great. If you got something, we'll come back to you. You know, be gentle. And the tough part, sometimes that talker that never stops, you got to meet with them outside a group.
Yes.
And ask them, said, hey, could you let 2 other people talk before you get in? Or whatever strategy that you want to come up with. And it's a difficult conversation. But again, we're talking about an authentic community. We're talking about building a skill of listening. And this is overused some, but having a safe environment. And small groups should be a safe, confidential environment. And that's where you're really going to get down to the core of fighting the good fight of faith together.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to share the true struggles that you're having, and people will be able to relate, and they'll listen, and you know it's okay to share because it's safe. But let me flip the script real quick.
Okay.
This is what I'm excited about listening. As guys, if you have something good happen, you get a raise at work, something great happened with one of your kids, they got an award or something, who knows, something in your marriage, you shot a great golf score, who are you going to tell, right? Who are you going to tell that's going to truly be happy for you? Because I'll venture to say, and I've heard this, and it's true in most cases, the only guy in this whole earth that wants you to do better than them is your dad. You're in competition with every other guy. Think about it. In grade school, you were jockeying to get in front of the lunch line, right? Recess. Who's going to pick me first? Oh, there's that cute girl. Well, you're going to try to ask them out before you. It's competition at your job. Am I going to get the promote? It's competition continuously. But the only person that a lot of times wants you to do better than them, a man, is your dad. Well, what if you had a group in your small group of men, had a true, authentic community, that you showed up and they're not going to look at it like you're bragging. They're going to truly be excited for you when you can share some good news. And they're not going to try to come with their story immediately on top of yours to trump yours. But you got a safe place to share it. So whether it's tough stuff that you need some prayer, some encouragement, some wisdom, or whether it's something incredibly great that's happened in your life, you got an authentic community of men in a group because you've learned how to listen and truly care for one another and let each other know that they're seen and they're heard, they're appreciated, and they're valued. Man, that's the heartbeat of the Good Fight Collective.
Yeah, for sure. And to kind of edify that, we found some scripture as we've been navigating this and thinking about it that we think really speaks to this and hopefully puts a exclamation point on some of those thoughts. In James, he says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry." That's in James 1:19. Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Boy, it's easy to write, easy to say.
We flip that most of the time, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm quick to be angry.
We get mad really quick. We shout out something, and it's like, oh, and then we slow down and feel bad.
Yeah.
So that is great words. Say that to us one more time.
Dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry.
You know, and I hate to go back to grade school, but that's what you remember with these guys. That's why you have 2 ears and only one mouth, right? Okay, sorry, that's the old school. That's the old educator in me. But it's true sometimes.
Yeah.
It's true sometimes. And if we do that with our brothers in our group, we do that with our spouse, we do that with our kids, we do that at work, we'll become that person that folks want to come to, that want to share things with because they're like, oh, this person cares. And then we're actually living out our faith on a daily basis from, like I like to say, a biblical worldview. We're listening and we're going to draw people and going, hey, how do you do that? Well, because I have Jesus that lives within me and I'm seeking to follow him. So I think you have some questions for us maybe to ponder as we wrap up this podcast.
Yeah. So active listening is intentional. You know, it's a two-way sport is the way we've been wrestling with this. Like it's a, and it goes better when both people are trying to participate. And sometimes you got to model the way. And so we did write some questions down we hope will be helpful as you navigate this and think about it. The first one is this: who's the best listener you know? And why do you say that? What is it about them that makes you think they're the best listener? I can tell them anything, or they're so good at listening. Who comes to mind for you? And maybe you should tell them that. Why do you think we all want to be heard? That's a really interesting question to think about. Why do we all want to be heard? What's that in us that wants to be heard? What could happen if we feel like we're not being heard? What could happen in our life? What are the potential consequences of us not feeling like we're being heard? Whew. And then lastly, how can you be intentional to listen to those that God's put in your life? How could you be very intentional to think about, hey, I'm going to practice active listening to those in my circle?
Man, those are good. Tough to do, but so incredibly rewarding. So as we wrap up, we'll continue to challenge each other to be great listeners and listen to truly understand. Ask a follow-up question. Say, tell me more. And then even follow up later to show the love and the care for the persons in your men's group, in your family, at your place of business. And watch how God can use that. You're listening to understand, not just respond. It's amazing how it'll work. So thanks again for joining us on the Good Fight Collective podcast. Until next time, fight on.